Good afternoon, everybody. Irene Weisman with you, your immigration attorney. Today is Thursday, January 2nd, 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. I would like to wish you a happy and healthy new year. May it be a healthy and a successful year for you, and I hope that your goals and dreams come to fruition. So what I wanted to discuss today is it's going to be a quick quick video, I guess. So I spoke a few weeks ago about rescheduling your USCIS appointments if you need to reschedule, or biometrics appointments. Today there was an announcement from the federal government, and I decided to do today's topic of what do you do when USCIS or immigration court cancels your scheduled appointment or hearing. So that can actually happen as well. And the reason I want to talk about this is earlier today we received an email from USCIS that next week, it's actually exactly a week from now, on January 9th, all federal government offices will be closed. That includes USCIS. That will also include EOIR, which is immigration courts. So if you had an appointment for green card, citizenship, if you had a scheduled biometrics appointment, if you had a court hearing scheduled, that's going to be canceled and rescheduled. Sorry, it is what it is. So let's talk about USCIS first. So if it's a biometrics appointment, typically they will see who got canceled. And let me backtrack. So the reason what's going to happen next week is President Biden announced that he's creating a federal holiday to commemorate late former President Carter. So on this day he wants to close the federal government, so all federal government offices will be closed. But potentially this can happen with bad weather. This is January, so January, February, sometimes March, we can have a snowstorm, we can have bad weather, things can happen. The federal offices, federal government can close down for that reason. Sometimes there are emergencies, whether it's weather related. Sometimes there's a fire drill, and for example, all morning appointments could have been held, but the afternoon ones could have been canceled because there was an emergency in the federal building. That can, I think in my 20 years, I've been through everything. I've been through fire drills and bad weather closures and government shutdown closures, and the immigration judge being sick closures, and a whole bunch of stuff. Anyways, so let's talk about USCIS. If it's biometrics, they will typically send you a notice. Sometimes what they will say is, they'll say for biometrics, just come in the next day at your scheduled time and we'll do the biometrics. So either they reschedule or they direct you to go in the next day and have it done, especially if it was closure for the reason of bad weather. But frequently they'll just reschedule. And if you go in the next day, sometimes it will happen that you'll receive 2 letters for biometrics. Then you gotta go. You gotta do what you gotta do. If it's a USCIS appointment for an interview, whether it's a green card or citizenship, typically they will reschedule. And typically in this type of a case scenario, you shouldn't wait too long because they were the ones that canceled the appointment. However, when you can end up waiting a long time is when you went in, okay, the office is closed, you went in and they told you they don't have your file. Now that's bad. Or it can be bad because what happens is they'll have to request it, okay? They see where the file is for the most part, but it takes a few bureaucratic, channels to receive the file, and then they'll have to reschedule it. Typically, if it's that reason, then in my experience, the wait time is much longer. If it's closure for bad weather, or, like what's going to happen next week, a creation of a new federal holiday, which, usually doesn't happen too often. Usually it would be like a bad weather type of closure. They can do several things. They can say, okay, February 9th, instead of January 9th, February 9th, everybody, or like they'll designate another day, everybody come in on this day who had those appointments, just come on in on those days. Or they'll just send you a rescheduling appointment notice. And typically in those circumstances, you shouldn't have to wait too long for that appointment. For immigration court, it can get a little bit more tricky. This is when, unfortunately, the person may end up waiting a really long time to get a new hearing date. If it was a regular master calendar hearing, hopefully it wouldn't be too long, but we just never know. It really could be a long time. I mean, I have seen this put away like a year and a half from the day of the canceled hearing. Same with the individual hearings. And just unfortunately, it has to do with the judge's calendar. And probably at that point in time, it's already packed to begin with. So it gets a lot more messy when it is the immigration court hearing that gets canceled, even if it's obviously not due to your fault. But that's when the waiting can get pretty lengthy, unfortunately. So nothing you can do. There is really nothing you can do. You have to follow their instructions, what they tell you, wait for the new court date. With USCIS, if you're just not getting that rescheduled hearing date, speak to your lawyer of what can be done, especially in the case of, that missing file, or sometimes you just don't know why it got canceled, right? That can happen. I've had clients had situations where USCIS contacted them like a day or two before the interview saying, hi, I'm so sorry, we need to cancel the interview. And they don't necessarily explain why. Okay, they just said we need to cancel, and then a lot of time goes by and you're just not hearing anything, and that can happen. So, but please be aware that it can happen next week. If you have an appointment on January 9th, it's going to be rescheduled. Please be aware of that. They made the announcement today that they're going to close the federal government. And just, keep in mind, again, they're going into the winter. And by the way, they all have an automated hotline for, the UIR and USCIS. They both have it. So if you, woke up and there is a snowstorm or something, usually notices will go out, but there is an automated hotline, or you can go on their social media page or their website, and typically, they would say it, that there's going to be an office closure for that day. It's much better than like years ago when they didn't have that, and we had no idea whether, like there's a huge snowstorm and, I'm on my way to Long Island for an interview, and boom, office is closed. Happens. So anyways, just stay calm, follow the announcements, wait for your mail, track your case, stay in touch with your lawyers, and it will all work itself out. Okay, everybody? Happy New Year once again, and stay vigilant, and let's hope you don't have to miss an appointment or an interview or a hearing for any reason whatsoever. But if it happens, it happens. It will be rescheduled. Have a good day, everybody.